Hey, welcome back to Sprague Homestead. I'm Kanan,
I'm Nikki.
and today on Would You Rather, we are going to discuss between.
Penny slip, penny slip.
I'll pick this one here. It's going to be a clothes dryer or a line drying for your laundry. Now, we're going to take 5 minutes between these subjects and each come up with our answer and why. Which one would we rather choose between a clothes dryer or line drying?
All right, so I'll confess I thought this was a weird question, but legitimately, people ask us this all the time, especially when they're getting ready to start. Should they buy a clothes dryer or is it better to line dry? And I will tell you from two parts of this. One, we don't own a clothes dryer. And two, I used to sell appliances. So my answer to this is definitely going to be a line drying. Sure, it gives you your own special situations during the winter. But overall, it's actually better for your clothes. Less heat on your clothes actually beats them up a little bit less. Now, in the summer, because we have a very high UV rating out here, you do have to be a little bit more cautious about when you're drying your clothes so that you're not causing too much fade and burn on your clothes. But overall, I mean, look, clothes dryers are expensive and they wear out. Where we're out, they would be on propane. And no matter how efficient they are, a lot of times they still have a slight propane odor when they're finished. At least that's been my experience over the years with propane clothes dryers. And I don't know. I like the smell of the line dry. I don't feel like you've got to use fabric softener and all that crap because the sun kind of refreshes them on their own. And the wind will knock out things like dog hair and things like that.
It will.
What's your answer?
I'm going to stick with line drying also, and I will definitely echo every reason Nikki says yes or no to them. I think the biggest challenge is, now granted, when we moved here from Mississippi, there we did have a dryer, and I think it was probably just the norm that you had a dryer. Down there, one thing you always had to be worried about was rain in the afternoons.
Yeah.
Pretty much 6 months of the year, or maybe more than that, it seemed like it would just out of nowhere have a zero chance of rain and it would downpour. So you could never leave laundry outside. And we got caught a few times that way. We had laundry outside, like it was sheets or something, and it was like, oh, we'll just go ahead and dry these outside. And then a torrential downpour would show up and it would basically just re-soak your clothes. You'd have to bring them in and they'd smell rainy fresh.
Well, when the humidity would get really high, it would take forever to get clothes to dry, which was kind of a pain.
Yeah.
A lot of people with a clothes dryer, it's a convenience factor. Interestingly enough, and most people don't really know this, but interestingly enough, the United States is really the only place that everybody owns a clothes dryer. When you get into Europe, an actual clothes dryer is an exception, not the rule. Most people in Europe actually do line dry outside or on racks in the house. And that's what we do in the winter, because I know we get this question a lot in the winter too, is how are you drying clothes when it's 3 feet of snow? We have the old-timey drying racks, and they sit out there right next to the fireplace, and we dry them in the house.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. The convenience factor, and I think the winter drying is really the best part about it. Especially in winter, your clothes may take 2-3 days to dry, especially like some jeans, some good thick work jeans with the pockets and everything else.
Coats, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they'll take 3 days to dry, and you have to be cognizant of what you need and when. It's not a quick, I'll just throw these in the wash real quick and dry them. It's not going to happen, and you can put them close to the fireplace, and by the time you really crank up the fireplace to dry them, you almost melt the house down trying to get things
Kaden
dry.
likes it though because it'll smell downy fresh.
It will. Now I will like it. I will say I don't dislike it for sure, but I would say line drawing. You just have to know that it does have limitations, and you have to plan around them.
You do. I always think, and this is something I see in a lot of the homesteading groups, but I always think that homesteading is about living intentionally and not reactionary. And line drying versus using a clothes dryer is very much, you have to, it's a plan. You have to live intentionally. You know that if I wash clothes, this is the timeline to dry it. Whereas we, especially here in America, have a tendency to be reactionary. This is why we eat fast food and we do things because we don't plan ahead like our ancestors did, or some of the people in Europe. We, wake up in the morning and we're like, oh, I got an hour and a half to go to work, and oh my God, I forgot to wash my uniform. And it's throw it a quick cycle and throw it in the dryer and let's go, because I didn't plan. So I do think line drying is more of an intentional planning kind of lifestyle. But
yeah, I would agree with that. So what do you guys think? Would you rather do a clothes dryer or line drying, and why? And that's the important part. It's not necessarily what you choose, but you have to defend it in the comments if you make a comment. So with that, we'll leave it to you there. 2 for a line drying, 0 for a dryer, if possible. That is what we would rather do. So if you guys have a question or comment on this video, leave it down below. If you have suggestions for another video for a topic later on, go ahead and leave that down below also. And that's it for Sprague Homestead. We'll see you next time.
happy homesteading.